We are at a point where I think we're kind of at the death of like careers.
Oh, absolutely, because the things that she's talking about is 100% the things that our generation are losing. I was with the company for 8 years when they decided they no longer wanted to have a pension program. They bought us out. We didn't have an option. So that retirement program, that safety net that we had, got bought out for pennies on the dollar, and they cut us a check that then they taxed. A lot of companies are doing salary caps. So once you've been there roughly 5, 6, let's say 10, once you've been there 10 years, they're not going to pay you anymore. Not to mention, on top of those salary caps, your paid time off is eventually going to get capped as well. So what I'm saying is all the benefits of staying loyal to a job that the generation before us had are no longer there. Yet you still have that mentality of, well, why are people job hopping? You should be loyal to a company. You should be willing to put 30 years into a company. Why? Because you're not willing to be loyal or invest in me. If I give you 35 years and then on the Friday of my 65th birthday decide to retire, my last check is that next Friday. I'd be lucky enough to get a gift card and some Harris Teeter birthday cake, but after that, my contributions to the company are gone, and the company's contributions to me no longer take place. Yes, our grandparents did work for companies from the time that they were 18 until the time that they retired, and they are being taken care of by those companies. I think is even more disheartening is that we're willing to give that 19-year-old kid a $250,000 student loan for a degree to where he will never make the enough money to pay that loan off. However, we're not willing to give that same 19-year-old kid a small business loan so that he can have an entrepreneurial spirit and take care of himself. To wrap it up, there's absolutely nothing wrong with investing in yourself. Work a job because you have to, and you have to have money to support yourself. But do not give them 100% of yourself if they're not going to give 100% of themselves to you.
Langdon, I'm not going to congratulate my old colleague for being at that company for 5 years. I'm going to give him a hug and ask if they've been to therapy.
Benefits of staying loyal to a job that the generation before us had are no longer there.
A few weeks ago, I made this video about the dangers of staying in a role too long, and when I tell y'all, there were some really big feelings in the comment section from people saying anything from what I was saying was wrong and stupid, not to listen to me, or explaining their rationale for staying in a role for as long as they have. At the end of the day, everyone knows what's best for their life and their career. So if you want to stay in a role for multiple years, that's fine. That's your choice. And if you also choose to change roles with higher level of frequency, that's okay too. That's your choice. As always, cafeteria style, do what you need to do for your life. That being said, we cannot deny the data that demonstrates people who change jobs have higher financial benefits. ADP, which is the company that processes payroll for a number of companies, did this study. And look at this chart. This chart is undeniable. Now let's talk about loyalty. Loyalty is something that is earned. That is my perhaps unpopular opinion. If companies want people to be loyal, like in years past, we also have to talk about the benefits that used to exist during those time periods. The most glaring example that I point to is the pension and how 401ks have replaced pensions over time, even though they were not designed to do that. The 401k was designed to be a supplement to the pension. However, that's not the case anymore. So as people realize that their retirement and their care in their elderly years is completely on them, of course they're going to make decisions that are aligned in their best interest because they're going to have to care for themselves in a country that also has been actively destroying its social safety nets over the decades. And I'm specifically talking about people who work in the private sector. I understand that there are a lot of people who work in government and they still have access to a pension, and that is one of their primary drivers for remaining in their government job. It's not the base pay that they're receiving today. It is having the security of a pension tomorrow. And that's a strategy. It's not wrong, it's not right, it's what they're choosing to do. Now, let's get back to the private sector. If companies have created the system in which people have to behave in a hyper-individualistic way to survive and to meet their basic needs, they also can't be surprised when someone is like, oh, I've only been here for a year, but company B is offering me 20, 30, 40K more a year. I'm going over there. And then when company C gives me more, I'm going over there. And listen, job changing is exhausting. It's exhausting to learn a new cast of characters, go through interview processes, learn new companies, their cultures, and their systems. I mean, that money isn't free money. Yes, it's more money, but you're working for every cent of it. Trust me, I know. I would honestly like for none of us to have to play the Hunger Games and instead for us to have a living wage and true benefits so that we can relax a little.
Oh. Like, right?
Company loyalty is an outdated ideology that needs to go away. Our parents taught us that we should go to a company, be loyal, go the extra mile, and work our way up the ladder. They taught us that because their parents taught them that. Back in their time, a company would keep you on board for 30 years and give you a pension. And that pension was usually better than Social Security. That does not exist anymore. Companies will fire you without thinking about it. They don't care how long you've been there. In fact, if you've been there too long, you're a problem because they don't want to pay a pension. There is more to fear from staying at one company too long than moving too often. Job hopping doesn't mean you're disloyal or lazy. It means you're smart. It means your skills are in demand. People want to give you offers. Don't let old world mentality hold you back.
And then I see the look in your eyes. Turn around, bite thighs. Every now and then I fall apart. And I need you now tonight. And I need you more than ever.
So companies are pushing almost on a daily basis that no one wants to work anymore, workers are lazy, there's no more company loyalty agenda. But let's really get into what's happening here. First of all, whether or not workers want to work is not the question. Many people have to work, and there are a lot of job seekers out there right now. Companies, business owners, top-level execs, they're the ones looking down on these workers who are literally keeping their shop lights on. The ones whose wages are minimal, their bonuses are non-existent, their raises, if they're lucky to get one annually, maybe cover the cost of toilet paper for a year. But honestly, in this economy, that's probably not even true. Again, these companies, business owners, top-level executives, they want loyalty from these employees that they're really not willing to give in return. Why aren't they being transparent about the large salaries they're making, as well as the further monetary incentives they're receiving to further invest them in the success of the company? If your company does not value all of its employees, then you do get people who come in, work their hours, and leave. Let's stop acting surprised about this. And let's not forget that in today's work world, companies are throwing an excessive amount of work at these mid to low level employees. Then they're so surprised that people are leaving, they're unhappy, they're burnt out. Seems pretty cut and dry to me.
Give me something a job has taught you that you will never ever forget, no matter what.
Everybody's dispensable. Everybody. I don't care what your title is, how long you've worked there, what you do. Unless you're the owner of that company, you're dispensable. I worked at a company for over 8 years. There's a gentleman who's worked there for over 35 years. He started the company with the owner. Started and ended his career as an electrician with this company. And they didn't even give him a thank you card when he retired last year. Nothing. If you think for 1 second that they have your best interest at heart, you're wrong. Loyalty only goes so far when it comes to corporate America or line in someone's pocket. So, if you're staying with the company you're at because you're being loyal to them and passing up a better offer, don't do that. You take that better offer and you go.
Something you were not prepared for in the corporate world.
Loyal to a company actually hinders your career more than it helps, because companies always have more budget for new people coming in versus raises for the people who have been there for a while. If you're underpaid right now, the best way for you to get a big salary raise is to jump to another competitor. Good luck.
I absolutely refuse to even read this article because the title and the caption are so irritating and stupid that I'm not going to waste my time, but I do want to talk about this. So they're upset that Gen Z views work as transactional and has no loyalty to their employers. Is this a joke? Is this a fucking joke? Here's a novel idea for everyone to consider, including the men that are upset that women no longer want to date them. If you treat someone like shit and there's nothing in it for them, eventually they're going to figure it out and they're going to stop participating. Like, dude, what? What about that is hard to understand? Genuinely. If your employer drops you like a sack of shit with no notice, and you're expected to figure it out, then yes, people are going to treat their employers like they are worthless to them, because they are in many circumstances, in most. This is a question moving forward always of what's in it for me. That is the society that we've created. It's also the dating society that we've created, because there's nothing to rely on. And so if you have employers ditching their employees, no one has a pension, no one has any security, why then would you devote 40 or 50 years to something, let them use you, let them not move you up at regular intervals? Again, there's nothing in it for the employee. You know who's making the most money right now? People who got up and switched jobs during the pandemic. That happened to me as well. And I got like almost a 25% increase in my salary. So I would recommend that you do not put all your eggs in one basket, and that you always continue to look out for your own best interest. I wish the world wasn't that way. I really do. I wish it didn't work this way. That sucks. I would so much rather spend my life surrounded by a work family that I was extremely close to, that, we knew each other in and out, that we could work together as a team in a way where we didn't even need to communicate because we knew each other that well. And that's what our parents had. My dad was at General Motors for 38 years, and by the end of that, they were treating everyone like shit, including him, even though he devoted his entire fucking life to that company. In any case, you can't expect what you're not willing to give. If you're not willing to give it, you're not getting it back. End of story.